Hello and welcome. It is February 27th, 2026, and 6 hours ago, the Earth's low orbit went completely silent. I'm not talking about a regional internet outage or a minor software glitch. I'm talking about the single most sophisticated communication network in human history, Starlink. At exactly 8:14 UTC, all 6,428 satellites went dark at once, dead, offline. Imagine a network that powers global finance, connects the U.S. military, and delivers internet to millions vanishing for exactly 17 minutes. SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne went into complete lockdown. No press release, no explanation. Yet the raw data paints a picture that defies conventional physics. This wasn't a cyber attack. It wasn't a solar flare. At 8:14 UTC, NASA's Deep Space Network, specifically the DSS-43 antenna in Canberra, recorded a massive, coherent electromagnetic spike. And here's the impossible part. It didn't come from the sun, and it didn't come from Earth. It came from the trajectory of a celestial object known as 3I Atlas. Think about that for a moment. This object, currently 180 million kilometers away, supposedly a comet of ice and rock, somehow emitted a signal so precise it bypassed military-grade encryption and targeted only the Starlink frequency band. The odds of this happening naturally, a mere 0.0000004%. In all my years as a physicist, studying the chaos of the cosmos, comets are the last things you'd expect to behave this way. They spin, outgas, and are utterly unpredictable. They don't fire synchronized electromagnetic pulses like a sniper. The energy required to disrupt 6,000 satellites simultaneously from that distance is staggering terawatts of power focused into a beam less than half a degree wide. That level of precision demands intent. Yet, the official narrative calls it an anomaly. When I examined the spectrum analysis, the data was chilling. During those 17 minutes, Starlink wasn't just offline. Its logs show a massive influx of data uploading from an external source. The real question isn't how this happened. The physics already rules out a natural cause. The question is, what was uploaded into our infrastructure during those 17 minutes? If 3I Atlas can interact with our technology with this level of precision, we are no longer just observing it. It is interacting with us. To understand the magnitude of what happened, we need to break down the timeline second by second because conventional glitch theories completely fall apart. At 8 hours, 14 minutes, and 3 seconds, UTC telemetry from 200 satellites over the Pacific vanished. 2 seconds later, the entire northern hemisphere grid went dark. 6 seconds after the first disruption, all 6,000 nodes spread across different orbital planes and software versions were offline. Normally, satellite failures are random. They follow a statistical distribution, but this was a cliff, a sudden global collapse. Engineers initially suspected a software update gone wrong, but at 8:16 UTC, external sensors told a far more disturbing story. The sensors, designed to monitor space weather, were overwhelmed. They detected a signal so powerful it jammed the satellite's receivers. Starlink operates on the Ku and Ka bands, between 10.7 and 14.5 GHz protected, highly specific frequencies. Natural phenomena don't typically broadcast here. The Sun emits broadband noise, Jupiter emits low-frequency waves, but this signal was locked precisely on 12.5 GHz. The precision required to hit that frequency from deep space is mind-boggling, like firing an arrow from New York and hitting a single apple in Tokyo. And we're not relying on SpaceX alone. Triple source validation confirms this. NASA's Goldstone facility recorded interference while tracking Voyager, Europe's Malargui station detected a magnetic disturbance pointing back to Atlas. Green Bank in West Virginia, while surveying molecular clouds, recorded a coherent pulsing rhythm that drowned out background cosmic noise. 3 observatories, 3 continents, different methods, identical results. The source, 3I Atlas, but that was just the beginning. As the minutes ticked by 8:20, 8:25, the character of the signal changed. Initially, it was raw power, a blanket jamming wave, but by 8:27 UTC, right before the network came back online, something remarkable occurred. The signal began to pulse, turning from a continuous wave into a rhythm, on, off, on, off. In physics, we expect entropy disorder, randomness. Natural comets produce chaotic, static-filled signals. But this pulse was precise, with a period of exactly 1.618 seconds, the golden ratio, phi. Think about that. The golden ratio shows up in nature, nautilus shells, plant spirals, galaxies. But to see it embedded in an electromagnetic pulse from a comet 180 million kilometers away, the odds are essentially zero. A global blackout, a signal tuned to our exact communication frequencies, a mathematical pattern encoded in the transmission. SpaceX engineers stared at this data in disbelief. The so-called glitch wasn't a mistake, it was a handshake. Someone, or something, was knocking on our door. The energy required to silence our satellites is staggering. Terawatts focused across millions of kilometers. Conventional physics tells us that if a comet generated this energy thermally, it would vaporize instantly. Ice would flash to gas, the structure would explode. But 3I Atlas remained intact, stable, accelerating as it emitted this colossal pulse. ALMA Observatory in Chile confirmed it. The object's temperature stayed at a stable -70 degrees Celsius. A frozen comet releasing the energy equivalent of a small star, it violates the second law of thermodynamics. Spectral data deepen the mystery. Normally, we expect emission lines of water, carbon monoxide, or simple organics. During the pulse, we observe strong lines of technetium, 9-8, a radioactive element that doesn't occur naturally on Earth, produced artificially in nuclear reactors or within red giants, decaying quickly. Its presence implies recent synthesis, a high-energy process actively ongoing. A comet doesn't act as a nuclear reactor, yet here was undeniable evidence. And the trajectory? Newton's laws are absolute. An object's motion is determined by gravity and outgassing. Yet, during the blackout, 3I Atlas accelerated by 0.04 kilometers per second without any visible propellant, no jets, no tail expansion. It wasn't tumbling like Oumuamua in 2017. Its rotation was locked, its acceleration vector aligned perfectly with Earth during the pulse. In astrophysics, this is the smoking gun, a massive object accelerating without apparent cause, exerting a force to project that signal. Skeptics may suggest coincidence or sensor error, but the data is consistent across 3 independent observatories. Starlink experienced the impact firsthand. Trajectory data confirms the acceleration. The numbers don't lie. And then there's the signal frequency itself, 12.5 gigahertzes, not random, not broad. It sits near the so-called water hole, a quiet electromagnetic band between hydrogen and hydroxyl lines where we expect intelligent life to broadcast. Starlink operates nearby, but Atlas targeted our network specifically. It wasn't shouting into the void, it was knocking on our door. The implications are staggering. At 8:14 UTC, a cold, accelerating object with nuclear signatures directly targeted our global communications with a mathematical signal. Instruments across 3 continents documented it. Yet the real surprise was about to come in the final seconds of the blackout. In the last 90 seconds before the network rebooted, the data stream changed again. The signal stopped being a jamming pulse. It became a carrier wave, and embedded within it was structured binary data. Leaked telemetry from a SpaceX engineer showed exactly what happened. Packet injection. Not random noise. Not static. Structured data. When decoded, it translated into a sequence of prime numbers, 3, 5, 7, 11, repeating. Pause and let that sink in. Nature does not count. Pulsars pulse rhythmically, but they don't send prime numbers. Solar flares are chaotic, but prime numbers? That's considered the gold standard in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It is the universal language of logic and mathematics. This signal wasn't random, it was deliberate, intelligent, and unmistakable. And then it got stranger. After the third repetition, the pattern changed. The binary data now formed a crude, two-dimensional bitmap. It depicted a solar system, a central star, 8 planets, with the third planet Earth highlighted. Next to it, a new point of light appeared, pulsing. It suggests that 3I Atlas isn't just passing by on a hyperbolic trajectory. That 0.04 kilometers per second acceleration wasn't random, it was a course correction. The object is slowing down, entering an injection orbit. It isn't a comet destined to leave the solar system, it's a probe, and it's parking itself. When Starlink came back online at 8:31 UTC, network integrity checks failed. The firmware on all 6,428 satellites had been altered, not corrupted altered. The code increased by exactly 0.04 petabytes. During the 17-minute blackout, 3I Atlas didn't just knock our satellites offline. It used them as a hard drive, uploading something massive, complex, and now embedded in the architecture of our global internet. If this object is a probe, its mission isn't destruction, it's installation. Is it a message, an archive, or something that rewrites digital infrastructure? We don't know. But physicists are watching in disbelief. The upload is complete, the satellites are online, and a new background process is running, consuming roughly 3% of Starlink's processing power. Whatever it is searching. Currently, telescopes across the globe are tracking Atlas. It's crossing Mars' orbit, slowing down, positioning itself. At 22 UTC, it will reach perihelion, the closest point to the Sunday. For comets, this is when breakups occur. But if Atlas is a machine, this is when the next phase begins. The prime numbers were the handshake. The blackout was the installation. The real event is yet to come. As the world tried to recover from the blackout, scientists were grappling with an uncomfortable reality. 3I Atlas wasn't behaving like anything we've ever seen. Conventional comet physics didn't apply. Its acceleration without outgassing, the terawatt pulse, and the prime number sequence all pointed to a level of intelligence and precision far beyond natural phenomena. Every observation challenged the laws we thought were absolute. Newton's laws still apply, but here we were, witnessing an object manipulating energy and momentum in a way that seemed impossible without purpose and design. Telescopes trained on Atlas began noticing anomalies on its surface. Thermal imaging showed no signs of the energy dissipation you'd expect from a comet emitting terawatts. Its surface remained frigid, perfectly stable, even as it projected energy capable of disrupting thousands of satellites across 180 million kilometers. If this were a natural object, it would have self-destructed, yet it persisted, intact, accelerating, and now actively communicating with our network. The more we observed, the clearer it became. This was not a random event. This was a system designed to interact with us. Meanwhile, analysts began mapping the data payload. The binary prime sequence was just the first layer. The subsequent bitmap image, depicting Earth alongside a previously unknown celestial body raised immediate questions. This wasn't just a signal, it was a trajectory update, a waypoint, a deliberate marker. Atlas wasn't passing through our solar system, it was entering orbit with intent. The data strongly suggested that this probe could position itself to study, observe, or interface with humanity directly. The implications were staggering. Think about it. A single object capable of emitting a controlled electromagnetic pulse, powerful enough to silence an entire satellite constellation, accelerating without visible force, and transmitting structured data directly into our communications grid. If the leaked telemetry is accurate, the probe effectively turned our infrastructure into a relay, a storage device, and potentially a communication channel. This is not hypothetical. Starlink engineers confirmed new processes running across the network, searching, analyzing, and interpreting data. The next logical question is, why us? Why target Starlink? The answer lies in frequency and access. Atlas transmitted on 12.5 gigahertz, right in the middle of the Ka band, precisely where our communications are concentrated. It didn't broadcast into the void. It broadcast directly into our technology, demonstrating an understanding of human infrastructure. Whether through observation, prior detection, or sheer design, this object anticipated our response. The handshake, the blackout, the data uploaded was an orchestrated interaction with our civilization. By 8:35 UTC, the orbit data indicated a small but significant change. Atlas adjusted its trajectory subtly. The 0.04 kilometers per second acceleration confirmed. For an object estimated to be 2 kilometers across, the required force is massive, yet no propellant or gas emissions were detected. Astrophysicists call this non-gravitational acceleration without visible cause. In context, it is unprecedented. The object is not only intelligent, but adaptive. It is calculating, responding to Earth systems, and positioning itself for its next action. And while all of this unfolded, the world remained largely unaware. No media coverage explained the complexity, the raw physics, the potential implications. SpaceX remained silent. Governments were clearly monitoring, likely attempting to verify, analyze, and strategize. But outside the scientific and intelligence communities, few realized the magnitude of the event. We were witnessing a first contact scenario that was not light years away. It was here, in our solar system, interacting with humanity directly through our technology. As minutes became hours, the scale of the event became more apparent. The Starlink network was not just rebooted, it was fundamentally altered. The integrity checks revealed new code embedded in every satellite's firmware, 0.04 petabytes of data added, structured and active. This was no glitch, no corruption. It was a payload, a deliberate installation executed remotely by an object 180 million kilometers away. Scientists and engineers began dissecting the upload. Every pattern, every signal, every trace of binary data pointed to a deliberate intelligence. The prime numbers were a universal handshake. The bitmap image of our solar system was a reference point, a map. The unknown point of light near Earth suggested either a companion probe or a destination marker. This was not communication for the sake of observation. It was an operational interaction with Earth's infrastructure. The acceleration and positioning of Atlas further confirmed the pattern. Unlike Oumuamua, which tumbled and behaved unpredictably, Atlas maintained perfect rotational stability. Its trajectory changes were precise and aligned with the direction of Earth. The physics here is undeniable. It exerted force to broadcast energy, and the counter force propelled it in a controlled manner. A natural object could not accomplish this, a machine could. Meanwhile, global observatories tracked every pulse, every signal. ALMA Observatory recorded the terawatt emissions. Greenbank noted the structured electromagnetic rhythm. European and NASA stations cross-validated the trajectory and intensity. Multiple independent sources confirmed not only the reality of the pulse, but its artificial characteristics. The evidence stacked logically. This was an intelligent probe, capable of interacting directly with human technology. As Starlink engineers monitored the network, they observed processes running autonomously, consuming processing power, analyzing data, and potentially searching for patterns or connections beyond our comprehension. The satellites had become more than a relay. They were now nodes in a distributed system influenced and partially controlled by Atlas. This raised urgent questions about the purpose of the probe. Was it here to study humanity? To prepare a communication channel? Or to deliver a form of digital payload we are not yet capable of understanding? The final piece that kept scientists awake at night was the timing. Atlas is approaching perihelion, its closest point to the Sun, scheduled for 22 UTC. For natural comets, this is when ice sublimates, pressure builds, and structural failure often occurs. For Atlas, this moment represents potential activation. If this is a machine, the Sun's energy could be harnessed to power its next phase. The prime numbers were merely the handshake. The blackout was the installation. The real event, the phase that will define the encounter, is still ahead. Humanity is now confronted with a new reality. An object, likely a machine, has entered the solar system, manipulated our satellite network, uploaded complex data, and is actively interfacing with our infrastructure. This is not theoretical science fiction. It is happening now, and our ability to predict or control its actions is limited. The silence of global leaders, the lockdown of SpaceX facilities, and the classified emergency briefings all signal awareness of the stakes involved. At this stage, the world is watching, yet largely unaware. What was meant as a first handshake with an extraterrestrial intelligence has already transformed the digital backbone of our civilization. Our satellite constellation, the internet, and potentially critical communication systems have all been touched by a force we do not fully understand. Atlas is no longer just a comet, it is a probe, an intelligent entity, and its next moves will redefine humanity's understanding of the universe. As we approach the critical moment, everything we know about 3I Atlas suggests we are witnessing the beginning of an unprecedented event. The object is not a natural comet, it is a machine, a probe, that has already demonstrated intelligence, precision, and the ability to interact directly with human technology. Its trajectory, its pulses, the prime number, handshake, and the installation of code on thousands of satellites all point to a deliberate, calculated presence in our solar system. The final piece of evidence is the ongoing activity of Starlink itself. The network is online, but it is no longer the same. The firmware alterations from the 17-minute blackout are active, running processes across the constellation that appear to be searching, analyzing, and possibly preparing for something we cannot yet detect. Every satellite is now part of a system partially controlled or influenced by Atlas. Our global communication infrastructure has been rewritten, at least in part, by an entity that exists 180 million kilometers away. Consider the implications. If Atlas is a machine capable of this level of interaction, what is its purpose? Is it observation, experimentation, communication, or something more complex, an installation of knowledge, a program, or even a framework for humanity to follow or adapt? Unlike a distant radio message from another star system, this probe is here, operating inside our own solar system, manipulating systems that are essential to modern civilization. The stakes could not be higher. What makes this event even more remarkable is timing. Atlas is approaching perihelion, the closest point to the Sun, at 22 UTC. For natural comets, this is a moment of maximum energy and often destruction. For a machine, it could be the trigger for the next phase of operation, using the Sun's energy to power processes beyond our current understanding. The prime numbers were the handshake. The blackout was the installation. The real event, the phase that may define humanity's first contact, is still ahead. From a scientific perspective, this is a convergence of anomalies that cannot be explained by chance. We have terawatts of energy emitted from a cold, accelerating object. We have technetium 98, a nuclear signature implying ongoing high-energy synthesis. We have a binary sequence of prime numbers transmitted directly into our global satellite network, and we have the satellites themselves executing new code, effectively integrating the probe's installation into our infrastructure. The evidence is unequivocal. This is intelligence, technology, and intent operating on a scale we have never observed. And while this is happening, the world remains largely unaware. Governments have been briefed, SpaceX remains silent, classified emergency sessions have occurred. Yet for the average person, life continues as usual, unaware that an object capable of manipulating our global communications is positioning itself for the next stage of interaction. If Atlas completes its approach to perihelion and activates the next phase, we may witness something that redefines technology, physics, and human understanding of extraterrestrial intelligence. At this very moment, as telemetry continues, Atlas is slowing, adjusting its course, and possibly preparing for what comes next. For the first time in history, humanity is not waiting to receive a signal light years away. The first contact is happening inside our solar system through the most advanced communication network ever built. And while scientists and engineers analyze, the object moves silently, deliberately, as if aware of every system it interacts with. We are standing at the edge of discovery, and what happens next could redefine life as we know it. This is not speculation. It is real, it is immediate, and the world will soon have to confront it. If you want to stay updated on this unprecedented event, understand the science behind it, and witness every development in real time, make sure you subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with everyone who needs to see it. The universe just knocked on our door, and what happens next will change everything.